Hej och välkomna till Dreamarena Orange. Det är dags för nästa punkt i programmet och denna gången så är det dags för en kille från Fatshark att berätta om sitt spel War of the Roses. Lämnar ordet till dig.
My name is Robin Hagblom and I work at Fatshark and we're making a game called War of the Roses with Paradox Interactive as publishers. It's been developed for more than a year now. It's getting kind of close to release. It's an alpha, and we actually have a tournament here at Dreamhack. It's a third-person game, as you probably saw in the trailer, and it's a lot about slashing and cutting and face stabbing in general. The core mechanics of the game are basically melee, swinging, parrying. We took a lot of inspiration from a game called Mountain Blade, which is an excellent game made by Tailwords and Turkey. And, well, I wouldn't say stole their swing mechanic, but it's very heavily influenced. It's also mounted combat, ranged weapons, where we more have made our own take on it, and that kind of stuff. But what we really wanted to do when we developed this game was we wanted to add a level of persistence. We want to have, like, well, as good unlock system and upgrades as games like Battlefield or Call of Duty and stuff, but without compensating on, like, the gameplay. So basically, we've added a perk system to the game, which means that you can equip, I think it's 12 different perks of different specializations, and they give you different abilities, which basically, because it's a PvP game, it's really important that the different players can have their special styles, and there's some kind of dynamic in what you choose to play. So what you do is you set up these player profiles ahead of game, and then when you're in the server, you can choose between your pre-set up player profiles. And on top of that, we also have a bunch of weapon unlocks. And each weapon, not only do you unlock weapons, you also unlock different weapon attachments, or weapon specializations, rather. So you can have like a Damask steel in your weapon, and that will give it certain properties, like being able to cut through enemies better. But it could also be like having a spike on your shield, which does extra damage when shield bashing, or similar things like that. So that's basically the game. It's team-based, 2 teams though, because it's set in the Wars of the Roses. Obvious the 2 teams are Lancaster and York, the 2 houses that vied for control. So I was going to show you a bit of how the game looks in action. Just join the server I set up here. So this level that I'm going to show you is not a level like the ones you saw in the trailer. This is, in fact, a debug level that we use when we develop the game. So I just need to wait to spawn. There we go. The mechanics are basically that you use your mouse to be able to swing in different directions. And I have some debug. And now you can see that I have some debug things on here. This is a tool that the designers use when they tweak the weapons. So these little lines are the direction the weapon is traveling at every given moment. And the color of the line is the speed of the weapon. So that affects the damage and how well they penetrate armor and such. Because we have a very complex system of penetrating armor and how the damage is calculated, the player's movement speed and such things are added into it. It can be very hard to debug without proper tools. So at the top of your screen right now, you might see some text that's being shown. And those are different variables that the designer have set and how they react to the weapon that's currently swinging. And to complement this system, we also have parries. Parries are the same way as swings. You hold just the other mouse button and you can parry in different directions. So if somebody does an overhand swing against you, you have to parry high. If somebody does a right swing, you have to parry to the right. It's quite simple. Yes. But that's about, I'm going to show you a feature here that I have not shown, that has not been shown before. So mounted combat is something we've been working on quite a lot recently, and we haven't showed very much. And now we have something that we have the mounted swings, basically. And we feel that mounted swings is a hard thing, and it can't be handled exactly in the same way as how the ground swings are, because it's very hard to hit the round-ended. It's very hard to hit people walking on the ground because you're a lot higher up, so you need to be able to swing low. And normally you'd swing low by kind of looking downwards, but because when you're traveling on a horse at full speed, you kind of don't want to be looking downwards, because then you don't see where you're going. So we've implemented a system where you can pose the same way as before, but you can kind of just tilt it downwards, and the character will angle his swing. So you can perfectly adjust at what angle you want to swing. And this also, I mean, it both affects the range, but also how low or high the swing is. So if it's more outside, it obviously has longer range. Now you also see the range indicator probably on the screen when I swing. That's also a tool so that designers can tweak all their swings and like tweak the damage and such. So a weapon that's long has obviously certain advantages, and so that can be taken into account. But enough about that. We developed this game on an engine, which actually is Swedish. It's called the BitSquid engine, and they also have their office like us in Stockholm. And there's a few handful games that are being developed on the BitSquid engine, but it's really up and coming, and it's very powerful. And one of the powerful tools we have with it is that all the games have gameplay code written in Lua. You can write it in C++ as well, but the advantage of writing it in Lua is that you have great flexibility. You can, while you're coding, just hit reload and immediately see what's happened, or like what the code change you made did. So, for instance, I've also connected this to the chat for this specific event. So that's how I turned on and turned off the different debug lines you saw. Anyway, so when I completely lost what I was doing. Yes, there we go. Now we're back. So because of this, I can, for instance, go directly into the code and set variables. So I set the weapon collision that I currently had, or the weapon damage debug that I currently had before. I can set that to false, and then I won't get any more damage debug. But instead, I can turn on the weapon collision debug, and all of a sudden, I have tools for debugging the swings. So here, these lines are how the swing collision is calculated. Everywhere where you see red and white is where you would hit somebody if you swung at them. But then depending on the speed, it will do different stuff. So if you'd hit somebody in the beginning of the swing, it would just kind of bounce off and nothing real harmful would happen. And these kind of tools are really important for us to debug what's actually how the game is working. Because without them, it's almost impossible. You see something doesn't work, and you have no idea what to do. We also have other tools, like, so we have these stone things. They're supposed to react as stone and wood and metal, just to be able to test our different systems in game. This entire level is mainly based on testing game modes and testing player mechanics. So you can test, like, if you like, what happens if the player goes over a hole. So because you want the movement to be fluid, so you don't want him to stop, like, stagger or anything when he runs over a hole. So with this system, you can with this level, you can kind of test, like, how deep does the hole have to be, or how wide does it have to be before he falls down. Excuse me. And actually, that's about it, what I have to say about the game. So I know that there are a lot of people who have questions. So maybe there are some questions from Twitter, or are we done? Nothing? Okay. Well, then I guess I'm going to just have to do some little commercial for our other game that we're also releasing. Right, it released it Tuesday this week, which is called Crater. And I bid you all thank you, and goodbye.
Sunlight will betray you. Can't fight the reborn man. They said, better move, son. If you stay here, you're damned. Only death will set you free. Death will set you free. As you hang by the willow tree. Hang by the willow tree.